Hi everyone, welcome back to Detox Technologies YouTube channel. My name is Harsh and today I will be talking about evading filters or bypassing the filters to perform arbitrary URL redirection attack. So let's just get started directly into what the URL redirection attacks are. It is also popularly known as Open Redirection attack. It simply allows an attacker to redirect the victim to an attacker-controlled domain. So, for example, a lot of time you will see domains such as call question mark URL or question mark redirect URL. And when you say https://google.com, and when you hit some function which basically triggers this redirect URI parameter, you will observe that the application actually redirects you to google.com. Now, this is simply an open redirection attack that allows you to redirect your victim to some attacker controlled website or some domain which might steal their secrets, which might be used to perform some social engineering attack or some other sort of attacks, and can be leveraged to perform cross-site scripting and some other attack as well. Now, there are some common parameters which are usually found vulnerable to open redirection attack. These include question mark return URI, forwarded to redirect URI, URL, forward, callback path. These are just some of the parameters which I usually surely look for. If whenever I see an application, I surely check if there is any such parameter. I use different methods which we are going to discuss next. So whenever you see such parameters, you have to identify that what event is basically triggering those parameters. So for say you are seeing this return parameter on the login page. So when you will say return equals to https://google.com and hit enter, it might not redirect you to google.com. Rather, you have to perform a login function. You have to provide valid credential, and once you will click on login, then the application will trigger return function and will redirect you to google.com. So make sure that sometimes people miss, they think that, okay, we are just inputting something in return function, but we are not redirecting or getting somewhere else. So always make sure that you check that what is triggering that particular function. Often these are triggered when some authentication or some sort of state changing action is performed or some event handler is called. Now, let's see some of the approaches to basically look for the open redirection vulnerabilities. The approach one says that you log into an application and navigate to any authenticated page, say my profile page or some address page or something. Once you are on that page, you immediately log out. URL usually looks like target.com/my profile or my address or something like that. Now, once you log out the application from this particular my profile page, you might see a redirection parameter. For example, the fourth number point says that target.com/login question mark forward equals to /my profile. Now, this is one of the common scenarios. The application, when we are on certain page and when we log out all of a sudden, maybe due to inactivity or by performing a hard logout, so the application allows you to get back to the same page as soon as you log in the next time. Okay. Now, in this case, the forward parameter is our potential attack vector, where we will be giving our payload for performing open redirection attack. And as soon as we will click on login, so application think that, okay, the user was basically on this particular page, say my profile page, and we basically changed it to google.com. The website will think that the user was basically on the google.com and will basically forward it. Now, if there is no validation, obviously the attack will be carried out successfully. Otherwise, if there are some validation which validates, then you have to find out if there is any potential bypass possible. Okay. Now, let's talk about approach 2. The approach 2 is like enumerating the parameters. Now, this is where the application might not throw this return URL or forward parameter or something like that. In that case, you have to run some like tools like param spider or Arjun to basically identify if there is any get or post parameters which are of our interest to perform open detection attack. Then you can basically take the suspicious parameters and try to manually put the payload and try to see their behavior in order to identify if the application is vulnerable to open detection attacks. Now, the approach 3 is something where like you run tools like get all URLs and wayback URLs, which basically fetch the URL history from the repositories like Wayback History and the Alien Vault. Once you have the data collected, you use the open redirection GF patterns. So GF patterns developed by Tom Nom Nom. He has developed really great tools, and there are some patterns by Indian Lead, which are like open redirection is one of them. Now you take the GF patterns for on the file which you got from the step one, the Go and Wayback URLs. You run GF pattern with the Open Redirection uh, template, and then you simply store the output to another file. Now, basically, you can analyze the suspected URL for the Open Redirection, manually try to embed a payload, or you can simply write a curl script with use of some tool. You can always write, a script to try to automate things and make things very much faster. Now, there are some of the bypassing techniques. These are some of the techniques which I surely look for, but these are not limited. Sometimes the schemes are blocked, say HTTPS dot slash colon slash slash is blocked, or say dot is blocked, or something like that. In that case, you might try to obfuscate the application by trying to simply URL encode something. You can further move to perform double URL encoding. Like once you will URL encode something and again you will try to URL encode it. Then you will try to look for integer conversion of the host or IP address, which is something we will be discussing in the case study. Further, you can try to convert domain to IP. Sometimes the domain, say google.com, is blocked, but IP might not be blocked or might not be filtered out. So usually these kind of bypassing techniques are helpful when there is a blacklist based implementation. We have to obviously try to figure it out that if there is a blacklist or whitelist implemented. There is no such obvious way to identify that what exactly is implemented, because this is something at source code level. You can try to change the protocol scheme, like sometimes developer forget to block HTTP but blocks HTTPS, right? So you might try to give HTTP, or if you have a website hosted at say FTP server or something like that, you might try to give it a shot to different protocol schemes. And there might be some other possible techniques as well, as you can you will try to explore the application. You can always like add URL encoding plus integer conversion, or you might add domain to IP conversion and URL encoding. So you can always try to add 2 or 3 bypasses together in order to create a new bypass. Now let's just talk quickly about the case study. So in this application, basically, I was following the approach one. There was some particular page, authenticated page. When I logged out, I was able to see some URL like return URL instead of forward. And that was something of my interest. So after doing a little of research, I figured out that the application is filtering basically HTTPS protocol. So there are like very less chance to perform URL redirection attack. But since if you are looking again and again for the same vulnerability, sometimes you get success. Further, I identified that application is also filtering the host and IP addresses. So this is something of our concern, that host and IP address both are filtering out. The HTTPS protocol is filtering out. So then I tried for URL encoding, double URL encoding, and these kind of things didn't work well. Now, after that, some sort of playing around with the application, I was able to identify that HTTP protocol is working, and they are using some kind of blacklist, because when I was trying say http://target.com, it is working. It is redirecting me to target.com after login, but it is not allowing http://google.com, as google.com is somewhere blocked, but the target.com is somehow, since it's related to their domain, they are allowing it. Now, further, after fiddling across the application, I basically converted google.com's IP. I simply took google.com's IP and converted it into the integer IP representation, which looks something like this. And then I basically added this HTTP protocol over here. Now the final payload looks something like this. The target.com/login forward equals to HTTP// the integer representation of Google's IP. As soon as I hit enter and click on the login function after providing the valid credential, I was successfully able to redirect to google.com, and it was indeed URL redirection attack successful happening. So this was a simple video describing about the URL redirection attacks and how there are different approaches. You can always create your own approach. If you get some new approaches, make sure to share them on the comments. Like the video if you really enjoyed and learned something new, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for being updated about the latest videos which we will be releasing soon. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.